Well, thank you all for coming. Really appreciate that. This moment is the product of a lot of time, a lot of prayer, a lot of discussion with my wife and family, and finally coming to a decision that it was important for us to take this step. A few days ago, I was on the telephone talking to some supporters, and I talked to one person. I said, it looks like I'm going to do this. I'd like to have your help. And he said, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired of politicians. I'm tired of giving my money. I'm tired of spending my time. They don't do what they say they're going to do. I can't trust any of them. I'm withdrawing. I'm quitting. I'm giving up. That's it. I'm just going to go live my life, do my own thing, and just let this whole situation take care of itself. And I said to him what I've said to a number of people along the way who've given me that kind of answer. If the brave men who fought in the Revolutionary War had taken that attitude in the cold snows of Valley Forge, when they were having difficulty crossing the Delaware River, when they were beaten more often than they won, we wouldn't have a country right now. If the people who stormed the beaches at Normandy had met those machine gun nests and said, there's no use, the situation's too bad, we're not doing it, we might be all clicking our heels right now instead of pledging allegiance to our flag. If those brave men, and some women even, who went to Vietnam and had to come back and face horrible treatment by some of our own citizens because they didn't like the war, they blamed the men who fought in that war. But I've met those veterans and they've never given up on our country. They've never laid down. Those are the men who, no matter what, they're never going to kneel when it's time to stand up for this flag. They're never going to kneel when it's time for the national anthem to be played. They're going to be standing every single time. If they had given up, we might be facing a worldwide movement of communism, which we ultimately defeated. So if we took the attitude that because things didn't go right, the last election didn't go well, we lost, it was a terrible defeat, I'm quitting, I'm giving up. If we took that attitude, I don't believe we'd have a country right now. So we've got to make up our minds that no matter what the circumstance, we're going to stand. Now, when I was running before, I always made this promise. I said, no matter what the outcome of the election, I'm never going to quit on our country. I'm never going to lay down. I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to back down. And I've stayed active throughout this time that I have not been running for office. Well, here I am standing now, saying I've kept my promise. I haven't given up. I haven't quit. I don't care what any election looks like. I am going to stand up for this country, and I'm here because I know you all are standing up with me to announce that I'm a candidate for the United States Senate. It's time for Virginians to believe again. When you think about it, this country really defined freedom here in Virginia first. I mean, it was a Virginian who said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was a Virginian who said, ask for me, give me liberty, or give me death. It was a Virginian who was the architect of the Constitution of the United States, James Madison. So I know that we're living in an era where people want to condemn the founding fathers and condemn those who bequeathed us this nation. But I'm here to tell you that while they were imperfect people just like all of us, they gave us one of the greatest gifts that any people's ever been given, because they gave us the United States of America, and we owe them a great debt of gratitude. And by the way, just for the record, I don't need anybody to lecture me about slavery. My great-grandparents, Gabriel and Eliza Jackson, were slaves and sharecroppers in Orange County, Virginia. After the Civil War, my great-grandfather and great-grandmother raised my grandfather and his siblings there. And by the way, as a two-parent, monogamous married family, husband and wife. Now, I know this gets controversial. The last time I said this, people said, oh, E.W. Jackson thought slavery was great. Slavery was a horrible evil. But the founding fathers didn't invent it. They were born into it. They were born into a brutal world. And slavery was part of that brutality. But they bequeathed us institutions and a legacy that allowed us to end the practice of slavery and allowed us to make sure that every American would at least have the opportunity to fulfill his or her God-given potential. Well, I stand here as a descendant of slaves telling you I'm glad, I'm proud that I'm an American. I'm proud to have a legacy in Virginia. I'm proud to call myself a Virginian, and I'm not making apologies for the founding fathers because I think that they did one of the greatest things that's ever been done in the history of mankind in creating this great nation. So what I want you to understand then is that this is going to be a very, very tough fight. There's no question about it. I've been through it now. I know how horrible it can be. That's one of the reasons why my family saying, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I love my country. I want to do this. I want to try to serve my country. But I know that we're going to be up against some very, very grave difficulties. And I know, in fact, that the progressives are going to be after us. The progressives in the Democrat Party, the progressives in the Republican Party, and the progressives in the media. I hope press company excluded. But we know they're going to be after us. But I'll tell you something. I don't even like that term because I think the term is a lie. Amen. Tim Kaine, the Democrat Party elites, and progressives, including many in the mainstream media, have told us that they're trying to bring America progress. But it's not progress to destroy the black family. It's not progress to hook people and lock them in poverty and claim to be doing them a service. It's not progress to relegate people in the inner city to lives of perpetual poverty, violence, poor education, and lack of economic opportunity. And it's not progress to call the child of an illegal immigrant a dreamer and leave the child of a fellow citizen, maybe that inner city black single mother's child, to be a thug and a gangster. That's not progress. It's not progress. It's ultimate liberal hypocrisy to decry the prison pipeline and blame racism while perpetuating the poverty and the poor education that tend to create that pipeline. And it's certainly not progress to ignore the problems of people until election day, until election time, and then ride in with hysterical cries of racism to manipulate people to vote for you so that you can once again ignore them until the next election. And it's not progress to tell people who have always believed, as we Christians believe, that their faith in God and their belief in the Bible makes them haters and bigots. It's not progress to tell the country that the brave men and women who have served us overseas and fought and bled and died for us are somehow a threat to us when they come home. And it's not progress to protect criminal illegal immigrants who kill law-abiding American citizens. Ask Kate Steinle's family whether it's progress. Ask Jamil Shaw, whose son, promising young black scholar and athlete, killed by an illegal immigrant. Ask them if it's progress. Look, if that's what they call progress, then they need to do with that the same thing that Hillary did with her emails. Make it disappear. That's the only thing they seem to be good at, making emails disappear. Maybe they can make some of these policies disappear. It's time to believe again. It's time to believe again. It's time to believe in good old-fashioned common sense. It's time to believe that there's nothing wrong with you if you think that men are men and women are women. There's nothing wrong with you if you believe that you can have good jobs without destroying the planet. Nothing wrong with you if you believe that parents know better than bureaucrats how to best raise their children. It's not crazy to believe again that peace requires strength, not appeasement. And it's not wrong to believe in James Madison over Karl Marx. It's not wrong to believe in America. It's time to believe in America again. It's time to believe in Virginia again. It's time to believe in Almighty God again. Now, let there be no doubt that I believe that God intervened in a miraculous way on November 8th of 2016. All the pundits, all the polls, all the evidence, everything suggested that the next president of the United States would be Hillary Clinton. But in fact, we elected a president who loves America, loves our people, is willing to defend America instead of criticizing and apologizing for America. We elected a president who wants to drain the swamp, not swim in the swamp. Now, Democrat elites have attacked him, but the average American citizen is praising him because they understand that the attacks only prove that he's doing something right. So we know that attacks are going to come likewise against me because I'm going to stand with the president on his agenda. And I'm going to stand with him in draining the swamp. I'm my own man. Doesn't mean that every tweet that he sends out and everything he says, I'm going to applaud. But his agenda for our country, I support wholeheartedly. And I want to particularly say I'm proud that he declared Jerusalem to be the capital of Israel just the other day. So together, we're going to bring America back. We're going to make America great again. We're going to help Americans and Virginians to believe in America again, to believe in our hope, to believe in our possibilities again, to believe that we are a shining city on a hill, that we are the last best hope on earth, that we are the greatest blessing in terms of nations that's ever been on the face of the earth. And that what we have in America is worth preserving. That is what I am going to be fighting for. I'm going to be fighting to make sure that the forgotten Americans are remembered again. The ones who believe in our country and believe in what we stand for. And by the way, that includes the coal miners who've lost their jobs as a result of radical environmentalism. And yes, that includes the black citizens who get used at election time and forgotten the rest of the time in ghettos, who are living out their lives, law-abiding citizens living out their lives under the terror. Do you realize that 3 of the 30 most dangerous cities in the last 3 years, the most crime-ridden cities in the last 3 years, all have been here in Virginia? 3 of them. 3 of them. Newport News, Norfolk, Richmond. Richmond right now is number 20. It's been as high as number 6. We're going to go into those communities and do what many Republicans have failed to do. We're going to let them know that we have a vision for ending the cycle of poverty and crime and degradation. And look, I know something about this. I grew up in what's called the ghetto. I grew up in foster care. I was born into a family of poverty. My wife lived in the projects. My parents were breaking up around the time I was born. I was placed in foster care the first 10 years of my life. I ran the streets as a young kid. I committed petty crimes. I did wrong things. I was on my way to reform school or jail. And what rescued me was not a government program, was not a welfare program. What rescued me was my father coming back into my life at the age of 10 years old. If we're going to solve the problems of the inner city, we better include long-term rebuilding families, because what we need is mothers and fathers raising their children in these communities. I'll stop a lot of this. So it's time to believe again. Amen. To believe my country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. It's time to believe again that we can be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's time to believe again that Virginia can once again take the lead in reminding our fellow citizens of who we are, and that we have a right to be proud of who we are. We're not perfect, of course not. But we have something wonderful to offer. It's time to believe again that the next generation will have opportunities that we did not have. That the next generation will face a society that is not hostile to their Judeo-Christian values and their desire to live their lives as they see fit. in keeping with their own consciences rather than being told that you're bigots, you're haters, you're bad people because you believe in God. I'll tell you what, I believe that if we believe again, we can do something that people are telling us we can't do. Don't you dare, none of you who are supporting me, don't dare walk away from here thinking, well, that's all nice, but Republicans and conservatives cannot win statewide. Let me tell you something. There are enough veterans, there are enough evangelicals, there are enough conservatives in Virginia to win statewide. We've just got to get out and vote. We've got to get out and vote. So some people say, well, you come to these meetings, well, what do you want us to do? What should we do? Well, obviously, we need you to go to our website, ewjackson.com, and volunteer and give and help us. But I want you to leave here and go tell 10 people. Look, I'm supporting E.W. Jackson for U.S. Senate. He's going to give us a voice again in the U.S. Senate. And if they say, yes, I like that, that's what I want, say, well, then you go tell 10 people. And let's start a movement, because that's what we need. We don't just need a political campaign. We need a movement among the people of Virginia. And that's what we're going to start right here today. So if you believe as I do, that if God be for us, who can be against us? If you believe as I do that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. If you'll work, if you'll believe, if you'll tell everybody what we're trying to do for Virginia and for America, we will win the primary, we will go on to defeat Tim Kaine, and we will go to the United States Senate and be a force for you there. Thank you all. God bless you. God bless the Commonwealth of Virginia, and God bless the United States of America.